Thank you for this topic. Very easy at this end of the afternoon, beginning of the evening, but I'll try to, rather than answer, just share a number of points of view concerning this topic of technology, democracy, and trust. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm very pleased to be with you here this evening and in this very inspiring venue, the Collège de Bernardins. Thank you, Father, for your invitation, and which gives me an opportunity to share with you some convictions. As I prepared this presentation, my first reflex was to prevent any chronocentrism, this belief that the period that we're living is central in the history of humanity. No, but it is difficult not to think that with the arrival of digital technology, we are coming a moment as determining as the inventing of the printing press. And like the press, internet and social networks have changed the communication structures of our society. Printing is our internet, and cafes are our social network, and these inventions are neither good nor bad, nor neutral, but they bear in themselves a lot of positive and negative externalities concerning printing. Some historians defend the idea that the wars of religion find their origin in the dissemination of religious ideas made possible through the generalization of books. Whatever the period of history, technology is what humans make of them, for the best and for the worst. Social networks have this tremendous ambivalence. Their very brief history is that of a disappointment, a disenchantment. We've seen techno-optimists arise, as Yashka Monk said, who saw social networks as a technology of liberation that would make it possible for citizens to access information and express opinions and denounce crimes and mobilize to demonstrate and, in the end, expand the horizon of freedom. Everywhere around the world, these mechanisms have contributed to bringing down autocratic regimes that were bound by censorship. I'm thinking of the Arab Spring, where forces shooting bullets found themselves up to rebels shooting twits. And basically, social networks were seen as positive, but since then there's been a new sound, and we're seeing now the revenge of the techno-pessimists who are denouncing the devastating effect of digital tools in our democracies. Disruptive technologies supposed to connect the crowd to the crowd have actually created technological monsters and political monsters. And this has led to tremendous destruction of social connection. In the past, television in the lounge, this household fairy, as one French intellectual said, brought a common point of view on reality. But today it's replaced by social networks and their algorithm of customization and popularity. And it is to them that we owe the echo chambers, where each individual is encouraged to stay in their bubble and only interact with people who share the same opinions, the same tastes, and the same affinities. And the impoverishment of public discourse and debate is also one of the perverse effects of these platforms. It's difficult to win a debate in three phases if the adversary has just one sentence, in particular if he can post that everywhere on Twitter or Facebook. We are, in fact, subtly going from the era of storytelling to the era of clashing. Storytelling was a key for the years 2000, with medical, political and social discourse, but with the undermining of money and currencies, storytelling has weakened its reputation, and the weakening of these exchanges, clash, has become the way of winning attention, and goes through the confrontation and breakdown, and also multiplicity of truths, because the truth is just surviving. Up until recently, we thought that that was the correction of history was merely for totalitarian regime, but in democracy things were clear. Information was free and the facts are obstinate. But in the networks, they've become fragile, and we come into a world where the demarcation line between lies and truth is weaker. And Donald Trump is disruptive. His investiture at the White House is the intervention of alternative facts presented by some as another possible and acceptable reading of facts which are nevertheless indisputed. Now, in fact, the fact checkers of the Washington Post, noting the inexactness of facts, the number of fake news reached 10,000 posts in the Trump regime. So there is no point that Post and Truth were chosen as the year of the word by the very famous Oxford English Dictionary. What's been happening in our democracies for such arrangements with truth to become possible? No doubt it is due to the very nature of lies, which is much stronger than truth, because contrary to the truth is not disappointing, and this also goes against the strength of a serious piece of language and message which fails to gain attention. But fake news also leads to wariness with regard to traditional institutions. In this respect, Marcel Gaucher, the philosopher, says that we are now in the post-political area. We're in the post-truth now, can be seen in face of the subtle interdictions of politically correct, and the intermediate bodies have been unable to respond to the aspirations of citizens, and they've become open to all these doubtful invitations and this very provocative or pessimist, provocative thought. The idea is, how can we build a vision of the world that is properly shared, and a common vision of an essential condition of democracy? Education is clearly a fundamental aspect, and we must prepare the youth for this world that is already theirs, especially in the relationship of young people to truth and information. We must stimulate the critical mindset to be able to dissect the fake news and be able to distinguish between a human voice and a synthetic voice, and we must be able to read the background of this technological landscape, and we need to be able to learn to be able to stay in the race. The responsibility of the web tech giants is huge. Today they have a lot of resources, engineers, customers, and data. They have their principal source of revenue. The new technologies now are so invasive, so influential in all sectors of our society, that they cannot remain just the property of a handful of giants who are colonizing the public sphere. And France has recently launched into a new regulation environment, working hand in hand with some of them. And this is an interesting approach, even though the method could be perfected. The GAFAs need to learn to co-build with the states and also with individuals. Just like the ecological transition, the digital transition will not be done without them. And today people are wary of technology because they don't understand its deep impact on life and society. And if the major current platforms ignore their needs, their aspirations and fears will provoke the same effects. 20 or 30 years of technological domination cannot be corrected in one day to the next, and we're navigated by sight in this twilight between a world that hasn't yet disappeared, but then the new one which hasn't yet fully appeared. But I'm convinced that it is up to us to create the condition, digital technology, what we want it to be. Artificial intelligence is the future revolution, is creating a lot of uncertainties and fears, but can also be the starting point to reconnect technology with the common good, to see and seek a new digital humanism. Rebuilding trust in the techs implies producing the good tech where the human element has all its place and where general interest takes precedence over the purely economic interest. And it is on this condition that we will make technological innovation rhyme with human improvement. Thank you.